Hi, welcome to Conquer the Concept, and in this video we'll learn how to factor. Factoring is nothing but writing the roots of a quadratic in the x plus p times x plus q form, where p and q are the roots. So let's break down factoring into two parts. The first part is if a, the coefficient of the x squared term, is 1. Let's try a problem. So in this problem, we're asked to find the factors of x squared minus 7x plus 10. The first step is labeling what a, b, and c are. So if a, the coefficient of the x squared term is 1. B, the coefficient of the x term is -7, and C, the constant, is 10. So now, when we're factoring is also the easiest form of finding the roots. If factoring doesn't work, as it won't always work, try the quadratic formula. So now if A is 1 and after we've labeled A, B, and C, what we need to do is we need to find two numbers whose product is the C term, and in this case C is 10. So A times B should be equal to 10. So any two numbers should be any two numbers product should be 10, and those same two numbers sum should be the b term, which in this case is -7. So a plus b should be equal to -7. So now let's try and find what two numbers product is equal to 10 and sum -7. So let's list the factors of 10. So there's 1 times 10, there's -1 times -10, there's -2 times -5, and then there's 2 times 5, right? So these are the four factor pairs, and out of these, only -2 and -5 will add up to -7. So -2 and -5 are the roots. So how do we translate this into the factored form? So what we have to do is we have to plug -2 and -5 as p and q into this x plus p times x plus q form. So let's do that. So we would do x minus 2 times x minus 5. Now let's check by multiplying these two and seeing if we can get the x squared minus 7x plus 10 in the end. We should. If we're correct, then we would get the original quadratic. So x times x, we can use the FOIL method, is x squared. X times -5 is -5x. -2 times negative times -2 times x is -2x. And finally, -2 times -5 is 10. So now we have these four terms. Let's combine them. X squared minus 7x plus 10. So this is the same quadratic that we had in the beginning. X squared minus 7x plus 10 and x squared minus 7x plus 10. So now we know what to do if a is 1. But what if a isn't 1, as it won't always be? If a isn't 1, then we use something called the x method, where we draw a big X and we start to solve. So let's try and solve this quadratic and find the factors of it. So it's 6x squared minus 23x plus 10. So let's try to find the factors. So instead of just finding two numbers whose product is 10, we have to find two numbers whose product is 10 times 6. Or instead of just finding two numbers whose product is C, we have to find two numbers whose product is A times C. So A times C. Put A times C into the top opening in the X. So what is A times C in this case? A times C is just 60. So A times C is 60, and now in the bottommost opening, we have to find those two numbers whose sum is negative 23. It's the same if A was 1. So two numbers whose product is A times C, which is 60. So two numbers whose product is 60, and the same two numbers should add up to negative 23. So let's list the factors of 60. So there's 1 times 60, negative 1 times negative 60. There's negative 2 times negative 30, 2 times 30. There's 3 times 20. There's negative 3 times 20. And there's 4 times 15. There's negative 4 times 15. Negative 15, I'm sorry. And then there's negative 5 times negative 12. 5 times 12 as well. And there's, I think, 1 or 2 more. So instead of listing those, we can find it out. Find out what factors add up to negative 23 as we're looking for. So 1 plus 60, no. Negative 1 plus negative 60, no. Negative 2 plus negative 30, no. 2 plus 30, no. 3 plus 20, almost. Negative 3 plus negative 20, yeah. So negative 3 and negative 20 will work. So what we have to do with negative 3 and negative 20, we have to put them in the two sides of the x. So now what we have to do is we have to divide these negative 20 and negative 3 by the a term, which in this case is 6. So let's divide it by 6. We don't divide it just by 6. We have to divide it by 6x. So now this is what we do. So we have negative 20 over 6x and negative 3 over 6x. So just to reiterate the last step, we found two numbers whose product is 60 and whose product is A times C and whose sum is negative 23, or the B value, and we put them into the two sides of the x. Now what we have to do is we have to divide both of those numbers by the a value and add an x to the a value. So that's what we're at right now. So now what we have to do is we have to simplify. Obviously, these two fractions can be simplified. Negative 3 over 6x can be simplified to negative 1 over 2x. And negative 20 over 6x can be simplified. Well, let's see, their GCF is 2. So it can be simplified to negative 10 over 3x. So now with these two terms, we still have to put them into these regular factored form, x plus p times x plus q. So we have these two fractions, and we can now, there's just one more step into doing that. So now what we have to do is we have to take the denominator, the a with the x, the simplified a with the x, and we have to put it into this first part of the factored form. So x plus p times x plus q is the factored form, and we have to put the denominator, or the a with the x, the simplified a in the x, into the x term. So negative 10 over 3x would become, so this 3x would become the first part in this x plus p term. So this x would become the 3x. And now the numerator, or the simplified fractions who are the roots, will become the second part, and the p and q part. So this negative 10 will become the second part. Now let's do the same on the other side. So the denominator goes in place of the x, and then the numerator goes in place of the p or q. So these are the two terms. So we have 3x minus 10 and 6x minus we have, never mind. instead of we simplified it. My bad. So we simplified it, and it's -1 over 2x. So that's why I was confused. So -1 over 2x. Now we have to use the simplified form. So this 2x would replace the x term, which would become let me cross that out. Which would become 2x, and the numerator would become the p or q. So -1. So our two terms are 3x minus 10 and 2x minus 1. So we can multiply them using the FOIL method again, as we did with the if a is 1 method. And if we're correct, we should get the original quadratic. Let's multiply them. So using the FOIL method, we do the first term of the first times the first, and then we do the first times the second, and then we do the second times the first, and then the second times the last, second times the second. So first times the first is 6x squared, and then first times the second, which is -3x, and then second times the first is -20x, and then second times the second is 10. So now we can add up the like terms. So 6x squared minus 23x plus 10. So, and this is, if you look, the same quadratic that we had in the beginning. 6x squared minus 23x plus 10. And they're the same. So that brings us to an end of our factoring video. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe and turn on the notifications button. Thank you for watching.